If it's any day that ends in the letter Y, it must mean that Vladimir Putin continues to play some sort of game of chicken in Europe when it comes to gas supplies to the Ukraine and the rest of Europe. He has decided to start playing once again, and it will have ramifications not only across Europe, but here in the United States. Joining us now from New York, financial expert, author, columnist, good friend as well, just back from Kiev and Moscow as well, Todd Wood joins us on MidPoint. Todd, thanks so much for being here.
Thanks for having me back, Ed. I appreciate it.
It is interesting because now we have taken the next step, I guess. Gazprom has cut off all the natural gas supplies to the Ukraine. They did that earlier this week, so the amount of gas flowing into Europe now will reduce. Isn't it fair to say that this is just the latest step, and this was to be expected in this battle between Putin, the Ukraine, Europe, and actually the rest of the world, if you think about it?
Yeah, sure. Putin's playing for keeps. That's what the U.S. needs to understand. I mean, he does not want a Ukraine that is tied to the EU and the West. That is definitely against his national interests, and he's going to do what he can to prevent that. So he doesn't like what's happening in Kiev. He doesn't like what their military is doing to the pro-Russian supporters, which he is arming and giving weapons and money and everything else, and he's going to show his displeasure by cutting off the gas. That's correct.
Now, the war that goes on between, or the dispute, we should say, that goes on between the Ukraine and Russia is certainly a big part of this. But let's look at this economically. Russia loves its money, as does all major countries. Gazprom is one of those entities that loves its money as well. Is it not fair to say, though, that for Putin this is a little bit of a risk, because still, realizing that the Ukraine can't pay right now, there's trouble, but still there's a money flow that has to come into Russia to finance everything that he and his cohorts want to do.
Well, look, on the face of it, Putin can charge whatever, or Moscow can charge, and Gazprom can charge whatever they want for their gas. It's their gas. That being said, he is on a path to destabilize Ukraine. That is what he's trying to do, and gas is just a weapon. He did just sign a $400 billion deal with China. We don't know the particulars because they're not releasing it, but it looks like that they're barely breaking even, maybe making a small amount of money. And that deal was signed in order to pressure the West, showing that he had other customers. So he does have money coming in. You're right, this is their one national resource where they make money to finance everything else. And you know, Western Europe, however, needs the gas, and they're going to pay for it. How
much can we expect to see the rest of Europe then get involved now that this supply has been cut off? And again, we're dealing with a pipeline here of natural gas, and there's all sorts of discussions heading into Europe. So who else gets involved now, and what other power plays can get involved here to force the gas to flow and everything to go back to pseudo-normal?
Well, what's going to happen, I mean, this is one of multiple pipelines, 4 or 5, that run out of Russia into Europe. This is the one that goes through Ukraine. So he is only putting enough gas in there that the Europeans pay for. What happened last time, and what will happen again most likely, is that if Ukraine needs the gas, they're going to take it from that pipeline, and Europe will be shorted. So that being said, there are you know, other sources of gas for Europe which can take a while to build up. The South Stream pipeline, which goes around Ukraine to the south, is not complete yet, and some of the neighboring countries have actually stopped completion to start pressuring Putin on this issue. But you know, Ukraine will take the gas if they need it, and they can take it, and Russia can't stop them.
There's something else in here. It's the open access laws in Europe that come into this as well, and I want you to explain this in the sense of this, that Gazprom, the European community is very upset because with this cut, and also considering that Gazprom wants to build an alternative gas route under the Black Sea for the company's exclusive use. Do me a favor, if you would, kind of put that in context to what this open access law is and how that all works together.
Well, I mean, you know, the Russians and the Europeans have been at this for a while, and you know, now you have a situation where Europe is heavily dependent on Moscow for its fuel. Again, we're looking at other ways to, you know, upend that situation and provide maybe LNG from the United States or whatever. But that will take a while. So the open access, you know, law basically says that if you put gas in the pipeline, you know, the customers can take it. The South Stream pipeline, which you are talking about, is again not complete, and it will be a while before it's complete. It's actually been stopped in certain countries. So, you know, Ukraine, the bottom line is Ukraine will get what it needs. The question is whether Russia will be paid for it, and if EU and even America pays for it to help Ukraine.
That's going to be the next point that you hit on here, because Ukraine basically has no money at this point now. So how much will the EU and or the United States have to get involved financially here in order to help settle this, and how quickly will they get involved?
I think you'll see it happen quick. I mean, what has been happening is that when Yanukovych, who was running Ukraine, who was a puppet of Moscow, basically was kicked out. Before he was kicked out, he signed an agreement with a very low price with Moscow for gas for a 10-year period. When the Maidan Revolution happened and the new government was put in via revolution, which Moscow sees as an illegal government, they doubled the price of gas, which they can do. But Moscow's hands are not clean here in this whole situation, and Kiev's are not either because they owe the money. So, what's going to happen is the United States is going to have to step up, and Europe, and we'll see how that happens. I mean, that's to be negotiated. And the money is going to go right from the U.S. taxpayer to Moscow to Gazprom.
All right, about 90 seconds we have left. Let's talk about the U.S. consumer here for a minute, because certainly things are happening in Iraq right now. And when you look at the national average price for regular unleaded gas, it's about $3.66 a gallon right now. There are those saying that it will hit $4 before the end of the year here, and then what's happening in Iraq right now will have an immediate impact. Your thoughts?
I completely agree. This is where we still get the bulk of our oil, even though our domestic production is rising, and there is still oil that needs to flow through the straits. So that will definitely impact the price of oil in the short term if we continue to have a shooting war in Iraq.
If we continue to have it does look like it's going to happen here. What would you guess gas might cap out at by the end of the year for the American consumer?
I think you could easily see it over $4.
I want to thank you, Todd. You have just destroyed everybody's ideas for having a nice Thanksgiving and traveling and a nice Christmas as well. But we hear this every year. Isn't this fair? This is really nothing new for the American consumer.
No, it's not. And our government is actually not doing much to try to bring the price down. So you've got multiple factors supporting the gas price.
Multiple factors, of course, and the Americans will wind up paying the freight no matter what. Todd, it's always a pleasure to get a chance to talk to you. Thank you so much. Welcome home, by the way, and good to be back on American soil, I would guess.
Yes, it is. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Thanks a lot, Todd. So there it is, Americans. Go ahead and think about it now. Every time you think that you're going to get some kind of relief at the gas pump, remember what is happening here, the Iraqi shooting, speculators get involved. Everybody needs their little piece of the pie as it goes along here. What do you think now about the gas prices? I mean, you know you're going to pay them sooner or later. And here come the holidays. Make sure that you get a hold of us on social media. Ask questions. We, of course, will respond right here. This is MidPoint, where every single day, no matter the topic, we question everything.